Welcome to Ghoul Talk.
Hey everyone, my name is Chris A, and welcome to Ghoul Talk. Ghoul Talk is a quick, hopefully digestible way to demystify or kind of debunk some of the current politically loaded hot topics, phrases, expressions, symbols, things like that. This is not a deep dive, this is not heavily researched, this is not academically rigorous. If you are looking for that kind of thing, there are plenty of resources on the internet, but that's not what this is. This is meant to be kind of a conversational way that we can discuss some of the hot topics of the day. So today, I want to talk about just asking questions. And just asking questions is, you can think of it as a logical fallacy or as a bad faith argument. But basically, and you've probably heard it before, when you're having a conversation with someone who may not have actual evidence to back up their claims, oftentimes they will fall back on, oh, well, I'm just asking questions. And I want to make clear, asking questions is not a bad thing. We should be skeptical. We should question things. I think that's a positive. When it turns into just asking questions, it's kind of this shift from, I've asked the question once and either no one was able to answer it or they were able to answer it, to I'm just asking these questions over and over again, even though I know what the answer is or I know the answer might not exist. So a great example of just asking questions is what was known as Birtherism. Back when Barack Obama was president, maybe even beforehand, there was kind of this idea that he was not born in the US. Of course, there's no evidence to suggest that is true. It's clearly just, this guy's black, so maybe he's not really an American. But one person in particular who capitalized on this sentiment was disgraced President Donald Trump. There are plenty of interviews where he's saying, oh, I'm just asking the question if he was born in the US. Is it so wrong to ask the question? No. But if you ask the question, hey, was Barack Obama born in the US? And the answer is yes, here's the evidence. And you say, well, should we really trust that evidence? Like, by just asking questions, you're able to kind of create doubt at every step of the way. And what's interesting is it plays with the burden of proof. So if I'm the one just asking questions, the burden of proof is basically on the floor because I'm not making any assertions. I'm just asking questions. Is Obama really a secret Muslim Kenyan? I'm just asking the question. I'm not saying it's true. I'm just asking the question. So I have no burden of proof because I'm not actually making a claim. The flip side of that is if I'm using just asking questions as a response, it basically shifts the opponent's burden of proof all the way up. You know, if someone showed the Barack Obama birth certificate and said, here's evidence that Obama was born in the US, and I say, well, can we trust that evidence? I'm just asking questions. So now the burden of proof is now on the person who has already shown the evidence, but now that evidence has to be unassailable in an impossible way. It's an impossible standard of proof. Could it be a forgery? Well, it's not, but I guess if you're just asking questions, what you're doing by just asking questions is you're just inserting these little seeds of doubt with every piece of evidence. So the reason I'm talking about this particular concept is because this really, really, really contributed a large part to the attack we saw on the US Capitol. So many of the people who were objecting to the results of the election were just asking questions. You know, I just want to make sure that everything's on the up and up. I just want to make sure all the legal votes are counted and all the illegal votes are not counted. However, there never seemed to be a satisfactory answer to the questions, which is kind of a big part of just asking questions, is it's never answered. So even though we saw, I think, something like 60 lawsuits that went into court, or the court did not have enough evidence to actually take up the case, even though we saw all that, we still have people objecting to the results of the election because, oh, well, some of those cases weren't taken up, so maybe the evidence was there, but the court never saw it, which of course is more of a bad faith argument because, again, we're talking about burden of proof. If the Trump campaign legitimately believed that there were cases of voter fraud, which, let's be clear, they did not legitimately believe it. They were just going out of their way to throw as many wrenches into the system. But if they legitimately believed it, the burden of proof is on them to present all the evidence in a way that could convince a court. If the court is not convinced, and if they're not even convinced to take up the case, that is 100% squarely on the shoulders of the people making the claim. They're just asking questions, but they have nothing to back it up with. Even after the attack, we saw a lot of members of Congress stand up and say, I just want to make sure this election was cool. I'm just asking questions. I'm just asking if there was voter fraud. I don't have any evidence of it, but I'm just asking. And should that be such a bad thing? And again, no, it's not such a bad thing to ask the question, but when the question has been answered over and over and over again, and you continue to ask the question in a way that makes it seem like there's some credence to asking the question, that is a bad faith argument. Of course, the whole attack on the Capitol is kind of founded on this conspiracy theory. And just asking questions is a huge deal within the conspiracy theory community. In the aftermath, we saw a lot of people saying part of the attack was infiltrated by Antifa. Of course, there's no evidence for that, but I'm just asking the question. I'm just putting it out there. Think about it. And what this does is, for a lot of people, there's nothing there. There's nothing to latch onto. You're just asking the question, but you're not providing any evidence. I'm going to move on. But there is a certain group of people, and I don't mean group, just there's a certain percent of the population that is predisposed to hear the question and think, there might be something to that. And again, that's fair to ask the question the first time. But when you've seen all this evidence that contradicts the question, or you've heard plenty of answers to the question, that's when it becomes problematic. There's also an element of plausible deniability here, and you see this a lot more with news organizations. You'll see something like Tucker Carlson say, is Obama a secret communist? And the reason that's a useful thing for Tucker Carlson to ask is because he's not making the claim. He's not saying Obama is a secret communist. He's saying, is he? So it's useful because you're able to plant ideas in people's heads without actually making an outright claim. Does Joe Biden beat his wife? I'm just asking a question. Can't be mad at me for asking a question. I'm not accusing him of beating his wife. I'm just asking if he does. So again, there's nothing wrong with asking questions in general. The problem is when you intentionally ask questions that you already know the answer to. So the people who are asking these questions, the Donald Trumps, the Tucker Carlsons of the world, they know what the answer is. And that's why we call it a bad faith argument, because they are being dishonest. They know the answer to the question, or they know that there is no answer. And when they pose the question anyway, and when they do so repeatedly, they are intentionally being dishonest in a way that is meant to manipulate people in a way that will leave them with plausible deniability. Because again, they're just asking the question, so it's not their fault if anyone believes that claim, because they didn't make the claim. They just asked if that claim was true. It's not Ted Cruz's fault that anyone believes the election is stolen. He's just asking the questions. He's not making assertions. He's just asking questions if this is a legal election. And of course we saw how bad that can get. So thanks for watching. If you liked it, make sure you like, comment. If If you want to see more of this stuff, subscribe, ring the bell, follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Patreon, share this on Reddit, Discord. You know all the, there's websites. Put my face on those websites, please. And I'll see you in a little bit.